Hello and welcome to Neurokin Network channel. I'm Marina, and today, what was on my mind is perfectionism, and I want to share with you some different perspectives that might be helpful. I've dealt with perfectionism for a very long time. I remember when I was at primary school, and I went to school in Cape Town, South Africa. It's quite a sporty environment. There's a lot of people who do a lot of sports there. And I used to think that I wasn't at all competitive because I wasn't really interested in sports. But a few years ago, I guess, I was looking at that, I was remembering that experience, and I actually realized that it wasn't that I wasn't competitive, it was that I had this point of view that if I wasn't going to be the best, what was the point? And I was like, oh, like that's quite a black and white way of looking at things. And I'm like, yeah, hi black and white thinking, one of my very favorite autistic traits. So I want to talk about so much because perfectionism, black and white thinking, and executive functioning challenges are quite often all smushed in together. Today, we'll just be talking about perfectionism, and I'm planning on doing an executive functioning sequence of talking about executive functions. And it's funny I just said sequence because that is one of the executive function skills. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing that. Let me know how that lands for you. Are you interested in an executive functioning, I want to call it an exploration over maybe a few weeks, doing one executive function per video. So let's begin with unpacking perfectionism. So, oh my gosh. Okay, I did actually write myself some notes. Okay, so I'm going to follow these notes. Number one, why would you care about unpacking perfectionism? So, one way of looking at it is that if you are a creative person, then you are already aware of the way that perfectionism can cover your lively, playful, creative enthusiasm with a heavy, wet blanket of negative messages and future catastrophes that are all my responsibility and all my fault. So yeah, more black and white thinking. So that's one way to look at why would I care about unpacking perfectionism? It's for my creativity to be free. So if you're a person who values freedom and choice, you are already aware of the way that perfectionism seems to remove freedom and choice. And you're already aware of the ways that perfectionism makes it hard, like this removal of freedom and choice makes it hard to move freely in the direction of your choices, because the stagnation, that making the right decision, that perfectionism brings that stagnation. Point number three, if you are a person who, against the odds, loves humanity and believes in the innate wisdom of all beings, you will recognize that perfectionism doesn't allow for that. Let's look at the risks of unpacking perfectionism, because, side note, but also an underpinning. My view is that we have really good reasons for the way that we are thinking, living, acting, our beliefs, etc. Like, we have good reasons for those, mostly. But what those good reasons are is that at a certain point in your life, something was happening and you created a belief system around that, or to support that, or to help you with that. So that's where perfectionism can come in. Like, we can kind of think, well, what's the benefit of perfectionism? Like, why would we choose to be so oppressed by perfectionism when we actually believe in choice, freedom, and autonomy? It's confusing. So we chose that because that seemed like the safest thing to do at the time. And there's a lot of, if we're not feeling safe, then we're going to look for very black and white structures to help us keep safe. So perfectionism is either right or it's wrong, and that feels at that time that that's the right thing to do. So if we're looking at unpacking perfectionism, that could be very risky. That could feel risky because we made that choice at the time when we weren't feeling safe. So consciously we can be like, yeah, let's change this perfectionism. This isn't helping me. And also there's an unconscious part inside us or within us that feels like we chose perfectionism for a very good reason. Okay, so the risks are loss of restraint, being uncontrollable, recognizing what is yours to control and what isn't. This is very risky in our conformist culture, where we are made to feel a lot of the time that we should be in control. Another risk is loss of victimhood, taking responsibility for our actions, being autonomous, which we say we want. A third risk is a loss of privilege, a loss of acceptance, a loss of rewards, a loss of safety, a lot of assumed protection. So you can see that there are so many good reasons to be perfectionistic or to have perfectionism within us. I'm going to briefly look at what are the benefits of unpacking. So what are the benefits of doing this? One, owning our energy. We put a lot of energy into perfectionism, and when we start to divest from perfectionism, we get that energy back again. So that's a benefit. There's a benefit of owning our own authority over our own selves, rather than outsourcing authority to someone else who decides whether or not we're perfect. And the third benefit is no longer perpetuating ableism, racism, or the patriarchy / capitalism towards ourselves, as well as the wider world. So that's a mini snippet of perfectionism. As you can hear, there's a lot to it, from my perspective anyway. And so that's just the starting point. I would love to hear any thoughts, feelings, responses, different interpretations. I'm here for it all. Feel free to make comments, ask me questions, share your views. All right, thank you for being here, and keep being imperfectly you. See you again.